Hello, friends. I am Sarah Flint, the Creation Care Fellow from St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Fernandina Beach, Florida. You're watching the third in a series of four videos about how we can celebrate greener holidays, have a lower carbon footprint, and hopefully increased simplicity and joy during this season. This video focuses specifically on how we give gifts. How we give gifts is one of the ways we really surge our carbon footprints over the holidays. Until I started this research, I had no idea that unwanted gifts are a major factor in our carbon footprints. Much of the issue comes from giving items that are the wrong size, the wrong model, or just simply not wanted by the receiver. Shipping returned items accounts for 16 million metric tons of carbon dioxide every year, which is the equivalent to driving your gas-powered vehicle 41 billion miles. So that is a lot of wasted energy. 5.8 billion pounds of returned items, and it's especially clothing. Clothing has gotten to be really bad, you guys, which is more than 80% of returned items, go to the landfill every year. This is because most companies have decided that trying to process and inspect and repack items so that they can go back into stock is just simply not worth it to them. They would rather just throw it away. So that just turns my stomach thinking about that. We can be especially careful to avoid online shopping as much as possible. I know I'm guilty of it too. I do a lot of my shopping online, but for clothing, especially, or anything else that is iffy, whether the person is going to keep it or not, or if it's going to fit properly, a higher percentage of items that are bought online end up returned, and even fewer of returned items for internet companies actually go back into stock. Like 14% more landfill waste occurs with online companies. So that ends up being about 4.8 times, or no, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing, but it just is really bad how little online items do end up going back into stock. And packaging waste is so much worse for online shopping. You end up with 4.8 times more packaging waste with online purchases. And here's a slide reflecting these things that I just mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a moment and talk more about what we choose when we give gifts to people. I would ask you, please, I know it's fun to buy a gag gift. Fad presents, can be really funny when people open them. But when we buy gag gifts, we are almost guaranteeing that the receiver is not going to keep it. It's either going to go straight to the trash or it's going to get returned, which again, we've talked about how terrible that ends up being. One thing I heard that's fun, and I know we usually want these gag gifts when we do white elephant gift exchanges, you can go to the thrift store. I just heard this idea from our youth group here at church this year. Buy at the thrift store, and you end up finding really silly, crazy things for not very much money, and it benefits the thrift store operation. And then when it gets returned, if it goes back to the same thrift store, then they get to double dip. So it's a win-win all around. There are things you can buy that have almost no carbon footprint. You can give experiences like movie tickets or spa days, massages, trips to museums or zoo visits, concert or show tickets, park passes, things like that can be great gifts for people that, maybe they wouldn't spend that money on themselves, and it's a nice treat for them. You can also make donations in somebody's name. And this is an especially wonderful thing to do for those people who really have everything they need and you can't think of what to give them. If you go ahead and make a donation in their name, then of course that organization also benefits from your generosity. At our Methodist church up the street, Memorial United Methodist, that's actually the church where I usually worship. We have an alternative Christmas fair every single Christmas season, and we highlight all of our missions, and some of them sell items, but all of them take donations. And we're happy to provide cards that you can give to people saying you've made a donation in their name. So it's just a great way to benefit a lot of people in your gift giving activity. Um, for hostess gifts, even giving plants or packets of seeds, that's a great teacher gift as well. Thinking green in the gift itself that you're buying. You can buy shares of stock in renewable energy or gifts from green companies or items that have some kind of an environmental link, like water bottles or nature books or tote bags that are made from recyclable materials. There is a company that's Jacksonville based, but their production is in parts of the world like the Caribbean where people really need good work. They take flip-flops and they repurpose them into beautiful works of art. You can't even believe how nice some of these items are. You can find some of these green companies that just do amazing, amazing things with recycled materials. If a gift requires power, see if there's a solar option. That's not all that common, but every now and then you can find that. If it requires batteries, go ahead and give rechargeable batteries as part of the gift. That way, those batteries don't get wasted when their life ends. You can just keep reusing them. You can make things. I'm a big fan of making gifts, and I love to receive gifts that people have made. You can bake for people, you can do knitting or crocheting, make ornaments. I like to make items that people can use, like soap or lip balm, and even bug repellent is a handy thing that I make for people sometimes. Buying local is a great thing to do so that no matter what you've purchased, that money can stay in your local economy and the items hopefully haven't traveled as far that you're purchasing so you don't have that carbon footprint of transportation. And when you're shopping local, bring those reusable bags along. Make sure you don't need your vendors to give you plastic bags. It's just not good. If you're buying clothes for people for Christmas, first of all, I really am leery of buying anything online that might not fit somebody. But even if you're shopping, in a physical store, really read your tags. Clothing is becoming a major issue in landfills. And so often, when we're done with these fast fashion items, we pass them on to Goodwill and then they can't use them and it ends up just going to another country and then there are only so many American t-shirts other countries can use. And just typically clothing ends up in landfills in remote parts of the world, and it's really unfair because these people haven't wasted all these products and they're stuck with our American waste. And we have a lot of fabric that is fossil fuel based, and it's better to avoid things like polyester and lycra, nylon, acrylic, spandex. All of those are plastic fossil fuel based products. And when we wash them, microplastics get released into the water and eventually they make it into our blood. And it's just microplastics are a major, major problem these days. So avoiding those, um, I'll call them fake fabrics is a good thing to do. And instead opt for natural fibers like cotton and wool and linen, silk, hemp, bamboo. And if you are going for the acrylic and nylon, polyester, those types of items, try to get recycled fibers. And there are also some newer sustainable plant-based fabrics like Tencel, which is not quite as bad as the fossil fuel-based materials. Going back to our shopping choices, I do want to talk about a certification that some companies go for called the B Corporation certification. This organization goes out and looks for companies that demonstrate being a triple P company, which means they look at profit and planet and people, and they treat their workers well, they do things sustainably. So any B certified corporation is going to be a good company to buy gifts from. Um, you can also look at fair trade companies, and I know I mentioned this in the ornament video, or the decorating video, I should say, when I talked about ornaments, but fair trade companies like Serve or 10,000 Villages are really good companies to buy gifts from if you are going to do some online shopping. They really do try to treat their people well. They lift people up in parts of the world where people really struggle, And usually their products are pretty sustainable, although they are probably coming from pretty far away, which is definitely a downside. When you're buying for children, really think about the gift itself. If it's sturdy enough that when the first owner is finished with it, they can pass it on for use to somebody else. And think too about how a child will play with a gift. If it's 90% toy and 10% kid, or if it's 90% kid and 10% toy, and you really want children to be able to use their imagination and develop as they're using these toys. You want things that are good for the kids and good for the planet. So avoiding plastic, of course, is always a good thing to do. And once again, talking about one of my favorite subjects, wrapping paper. We use 8,000 tons of it every year in the United States. And again, I've mentioned this already in a few different contexts, but we really want to avoid anything that has glitter, especially glitter is the worst. Please don't ever use glitter. Glitter is bad. Any kind of plastic or glossy coating is bad. Metallic coatings are bad. You really want relatively plain printed paper that can be recycled. And as I did mention already, in Fernandina Beach, you can even recycle tissue paper, which is a great thing. And in addition to wrapping with paper, you can also wrap with silk scarves and bandanas and towels. Tea towels, especially, are so pretty. Use jars and containers. Or you can even look up on YouTube this cool technique from Japan called furoshiki. You can find YouTube videos about how to do this. And what you can do is just throughout the year, when you find nice fabric on sale, go ahead and pick some up. And then you can do beautiful Christmas packages for people with fabric that they can use for other things throughout the year. So this concludes what I have to say about gift giving. And I just want to wish all of you a wonderful, happy holiday season. And again, keep those conversations going about sustainability so we can raise awareness everywhere as a way to love God and love others. And don't be afraid to reach out to me if you have any questions. Peace be with you.